The third lecture of this class will cover Chapter 3 in your public speaking textbook, which is identified or titled as Selecting Your Topic and Purpose. This is probably one of the most important chapters in the entire book, as this is what is going to aid in you or give you tips towards picking the idea, the topic of what your speech is going to be on, which can be for some people the most difficult part of writing a speech, is figuring out what to give the speech on. So the very first thing that the book suggests is that you need to identify the general purpose of your speech. Are you looking to inform, to persuade, for a special occasion? And each one of those are going to dictate different things that you are going to want to include in your speech. For the sake of this class, that is going to, identifying your general purpose is going to be fairly easy, as the assignments will give you what the general purpose is. So for example, your informative speech is, your general purpose is going to be to inform. Your persuasive speech, your general purpose is going to be to persuade, reinforce, change or influence the attitudes, values, beliefs, or actions of others. The only one that's a little bit tricky is your very first speech that I'm requiring you to do is an introduction speech. For this introductory speech, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself by sharing something you are passionate about. So with that, it's going to be mostly to inform because you're sharing about yourself and about your passions. There may be a little persuasion in there, but overall, too, you're going to have some aspects of special occasion to entertain, to celebrate, to commemorate, because you are talking about yourself. So throughout the rest of this lecture on Chapter 3, we are going to be using the Introductory Speech Communications assignment to aid in my lecture and to help provide examples. If you're looking for the do's and don'ts, what I'm asking for the intro speeches, the grading rubric, all of those things you will find in the Week 1 tab in Angel. So after you have defined the general purpose, the next part is going to be to use that general purpose to determine what to give your speech on. What should the overall topic of your speech be? And the book talks about creating an idea bank and using different forms of brainstorming. And those can be really helpful if you're really stuck on what to give your speech on. So for the introduction speeches, I'm asking you to share about yourself by sharing something you are passionate about. So that could be anything from theater to fishing to you love watching the show House, or you're addicted to reality television, or you are passionate about spending time with your kids, or you're passionate about the job that you have. All of those different things you can determine by doing some brainstorming, by doing some free association or clustering exercises that will help you pinpoint the one thing that you are not only the most passionate about, but that you could talk about in a 2 to 4 minute speech, which is the length requirement for the first speech. So after you've done the brainstorming and you've done the free association, then the next step is to select your topic. So you're going to do that first by narrowing your topic. So now that we know the general purpose of your speech, the next step is going to be to identify the specific purpose of your speech. So that is going to be one sentence that identifies what your speech is about. It is not necessarily the same thing as your central idea or your thesis, which is the same thing as a central idea. This is a little bit different. This is not what your speech is on, but it is the desired outcome of your speech. So hopefully for most of you, the specific purpose of your introductory speeches is going to be to inform the audience about myself by sharing about whatever you're passionate about. So for example, if I was going to do this, my specific purpose of the speech would be, my goal of the speech is to inform the audience about my love of acting and how acting has shaped the person I have become. Which then leads me to the next part, which is identify the central idea, or a lot of times it's called thesis, of your speech. So my thesis would probably be something along the lines of, being a theater actress has shaped the person that I have become today. So by using that central idea of the speech, being a theater actress has shaped the person I have become today, the audience will know that my entire speech is going to be about me being a theater actress and how that has shaped the person I've become today. So the next step is going to be to evaluate your central idea. And essentially in that area, you're just making sure that you haven't made a thesis that's so broad that you can't cover it in the time allotted, and it's not too specific that you can't talk about it for the time that is required. So after you have your central idea, the next step is going to be to construct a working outline. So your working outline is going to have all of these things that you see listed on the screen right now. So it's going to have your topic. So my topic would be being a theater actress and how it has shaped me. The general purpose will be to inform. The specific purpose would be to inform the audience about how being an actress has shaped who I become. The central idea is actually stating that. So being a theater actress has shaped the person that I am today. My main point 1, 2, and 3 will all be supporting that central idea. So my main point 1 might be something like, the first theater role I ever got allowed me to realize that this is not only something that I'm good at, but something that I thoroughly enjoy doing. And then my subpoints under that main point will talk about that first acting experience and everything that it entailed. And then you go on to main point 2, main point 3, and then you want to make sure that you also end with a conclusion, which we will be going over in a later chapter, how conclusions should work. So a few final thoughts about this chapter. First and foremost, selecting your topic is something that is super important, because if you don't have a strong topic idea, if it's not something you are confident in, then you're going to suffer throughout the rest of the speech writing and performing processes. So make sure you take advantage of the different brainstorming activities and take into consideration audience analysis to allow you to pick a topic that is going to be fascinating for the audience, but more importantly, something that you are invested in. It is a known fact, and I state this over and over and over again, if you are not confident, if you are not passionate, if you are not excited about the speech you are going to give, the audience won't be either. So you have to make sure that every single topic you pick, every single central idea you have for every speech that you give in this class, it has to be something that you love, something that you want to talk about. Because if you don't want to talk about it, we don't want to hear it. A few other final thoughts here. Working outlines really help you get your ideas in order. So once you have your central idea, a working outline is really going to help assist in fleshing out your idea and making sure that you're covering all of the bases that need to be covered. Also, a lot of times, many times, your working outline can then be directly transposed into your formal outline. So when I require outlines for this class, I'm going to require formal outlines, but your working outline is going to help you with your formal outline, because essentially all you have to do is flesh out your working outline to make it your formal outline. Further, your working outline is going to help you when you're transporting that onto note cards that you can use when you are presenting your speech, because you are not allowed to have it written out word for word. We'll go more into detail with that later on in the course. Lastly, I will have an example of the working outline under the week 1 tab. So if you're looking for an example of what a working outline for the introductory speech should look like, that will be posted there. I will also be posting an example of a formal outline, so that way you have that example as well for the introductory speeches. Lastly, now that we are done with the final chapter in tab 1, you are now encouraged to go to week 1, tab 1, and under that folder, you will find the first quiz that is required for this class, as well as the due date for that quiz. So I recommend, now that you made it through all 3 of my lectures, for that quiz, you go ahead and take that at your earliest convenience. Again, if you have any questions or concerns, let me know. Otherwise, I will be back shortly here with the next lecture, which will be covering things in tab 3, which is how to create your speech. So it's going to be covering things like outlining and organizing and introductions and conclusions. So look for that. It should be posted here shortly.